Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I never thought I'd be the kind of man to doubt his wife. For nearly a decade, Lisa and I had built a life together, steady, predictable, maybe even a little mundane at times. But I liked it that way. We had a rhythm, a comfortable familiarity that I thought was unshakable. Then, one day, things started to shift. It was subtle at first. She started caring too much about her appearance. Not in the way a woman might when she wants to feel good about herself, but in a way that felt unnatural. Lisa was always beautiful, but she never fussed over it too much. Now, she was suddenly wearing expensive lingerie I'd never seen before. Yet, ironically, she wasn't wearing it for me. Then came the wardrobe changes, low-cut blouses, tighter skirts, and perfume so strong it left a trail wherever she went. "Who are you dressing up for?" I joked one night as she admired herself in the mirror before heading to work. She laughed, too breezily. "I just want to look professional. You know, show some confidence." Lisa worked in corporate sales, but in all our years together, she'd never cared this much about professional confidence. Still, I brushed it off. Women like to feel good about themselves. Maybe this was just a phase. Then she started working late. The first few times, I believed her. Then the late nights became routine. Then the missed dinners. Then the unanswered texts. I should have confronted her earlier. I should have trusted my gut. But I was the kind of man who believed in my marriage, in my wife. And maybe, deep down, I didn't want to admit that something was wrong. Then came the night that changed everything. Lisa had been avoiding intimacy with me for weeks. Always an excuse. Too tired, too stressed, not in the mood. At first, I respected it. But then I noticed she wasn't too tired to spend an extra hour getting ready for work. So that night, I made a move. Nothing aggressive, just the kind of affection that used to be natural between us. I kissed her neck, wrapped my arms around her waist, but the way she flinched sent a wave of dread down my spine. "What's wrong?" I asked, searching her face. She pulled away, her eyes darting away like she was scrambling for an excuse. I don't feel like it. I'm exhausted." "Lisa," I said slowly, my voice firm. "You haven't felt like it for weeks." She sighed, rubbing her temples. "Work has been stressful, okay? I don't need you pressuring me right now." Pressuring her? I had barely touched her. That was when I knew. Something was seriously wrong. I didn't push the issue then, but that night, I barely slept. I replayed the past few months in my head, connecting the dots I had been too blind to see. Then, fate handed me an answer I wasn't ready for. The next day, I was in the grocery store when I ran into James, one of Lisa's coworkers. He was a chatty guy, the kind of person who knew everything about everyone in the office. "Hey man," he greeted me, slapping me on the back. "Lisa must be loving all the attention from Mr. Big Shot, huh?" I frowned. "What?" James chuckled. "Oh, you know, her and Ethan, her boss. I mean, everyone can see how much he favors her. He's always keeping her late, taking her out to business dinners. She must be killing it with her commissions." I forced a laugh, but my blood turned to ice. Ethan, her boss, business dinners, late nights, unanswered texts. The realization hit me like a train wreck. Lisa wasn't just dressing up for work. She wasn't just staying late because of stress. She was having an affair. The thought nearly made me sick. I held my composure long enough to get through the rest of the conversation with James, then rushed out of the store, my heart pounding. I had no proof, not yet. But my gut was screaming at me, and I knew I had to find out the truth. And once I did, there would be no going back. I sat in my car outside the grocery store, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Lisa, my wife, with her boss. The words echoed in my mind, each one cutting deeper than the last. I wanted to believe it was just a misunderstanding, some harmless office favoritism that James had exaggerated. But deep down, I knew better. A man's gut doesn't lie. Still, I needed proof. I spent the next few days observing her, keeping my suspicions locked behind a mask of normalcy. I didn't let on that anything had changed, that I was suddenly seeing her differently. She acted the same, maybe even more affectionate than usual, almost as if she sensed something was off and was trying to throw me off course. One night, as she got ready for bed, I casually asked, "Hey, you mentioned Ethan the other day. How's he as a boss?" She shrugged, her tone carefully neutral. "He's fine. Demanding, but it comes with the territory. James said you've been working with him a lot lately." She paused, just for a fraction of a second, then smoothed her expression. Yeah, he's been mentoring me a little. You know, career growth and all that. Mentoring. I forced a nod and dropped the subject. But I knew she was lying. And the fact that she covered it so effortlessly, without so much as a flicker of guilt, told me exactly how deep this ran. I needed hard evidence. The next morning, while she was in the shower, I retrieved her car keys and stepped into the garage. My heart pounded as I crouched next to the driver's seat, pressing the small recording device deep into the gap beneath it. It was discreet, voice-activated, and would pick up everything said in that car. Later that night, I stayed up late, pretending to work while she sat next to me on the couch scrolling through her phone. I glanced at her screen a few times, nothing suspicious. But when she got up to use the bathroom, she left it unlocked. It was a risk. If she caught me, she'd know I suspected something. But I only needed 10 seconds. I grabbed her phone and opened her call history. Ethan's name was everywhere. Calls at midnight. Calls during lunch breaks. Calls on weekends when she was supposedly out with friends. I clicked on her messages. Nothing. Deleted. She had been careful. Too careful. When she came back, I set the phone down and acted like nothing had happened, but my mind was spinning. The next night, I retrieved the recorder from her car. My hands trembled as I plugged it into my laptop and pressed play. Static. The sound of the car door opening. The soft hum of the engine. Then voices. Lisa's voice. And his. The first few minutes were casual, talking about work, weekend plans, small talk. Then, the tone shifted. You looked incredible today, Ethan murmured. I couldn't stop thinking about you. She laughed, a soft, teasing sound that I hadn't heard in months. You say that every time. Because it's true. A beat of silence. I could hear the faint rustling of fabric, as if he was touching her. I clenched my jaw, my pulse hammering in my ears. Are you excited about this weekend? He asked. Lisa exhaled, a giddy little sigh. Yeah? You always spoil me. I just need to figure out what to tell him. Him. Me. My stomach churned. Just say it's a girl's trip, Ethan suggested. You've used that excuse before, right? A sharp pang shot through my chest. How many times had she lied to my face? Yeah, Lisa admitted. But I think he's starting to get suspicious. Doesn't matter. Ethan dismissed. He's too passive. He won't do anything about it. Something inside me snapped. They were mocking me, laughing at me, belittling me. I took a deep breath, gripping the edge of my desk. I wasn't going to explode. I wasn't going to confront her, not yet. I needed more. I needed something undeniable. The next morning, while Lisa was in the shower, I grabbed my laptop and logged into our shared phone account. I scrolled through the call logs, writing down Ethan's number. Then, I ran it through a reverse lookup. His name popped up instantly. I opened her laptop. She had no password. I had never given her a reason to keep one. Her email was open. I scrolled through her inbox, filtering by Ethan's email address. Then I saw it. Can't stop thinking about last night. You're incredible. Let's make this weekend special. I booked a suite at the Grand Royale. I'll text you the details. Love you. My vision blurred. Love you. There were dozens of emails. Some professional, but buried between them were intimate exchanges, hidden within business conversations. Little messages disguised as work talk, telling her how much he wanted her, how much he missed her. She had been so careful, but not careful enough. I closed the laptop, exhaled slowly, and sat back in my chair. Lisa had no idea what was coming. I wasn't going to explode. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to ruin her. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lisa with him, laughing, whispering, tangled up in hotel sheets that I had unknowingly paid for. Every memory of our marriage felt tainted, like a cruel joke that I was only now getting the punchline to. By morning, my anger had crystallized into something colder. Purpose. I wasn't going to lash out. I wasn't going to scream. I was going to make her pay. Lisa went about her morning like nothing was wrong. She hummed to herself as she got dressed, oblivious to the fact that I had seen everything. I watched her carefully. Every little smirk, every lingering glance at her phone, every touch of lipstick she applied before work. She thought she was so careful. She had no idea I had all the proof I needed. Lisa kissed my cheek before leaving, just like she always did. The same lips that had whispered, "I love you," to Ethan. I stayed home that day making calls. By lunchtime, my plan was in motion. First, I texted Lisa. Hey, I know you've been stressed. Thought I'd do something special for you. Meet me at the Grand Royale tonight? I booked us a suite. I saw the 3 dots appear as she typed. "Ah, babe, that's so sweet. But I can't tonight. I have work stuff." Lying. So easy for her now. I called the hotel, confirmed Ethan's reservation, and made sure his wife, yes, he was married too, got a copy of the confirmation. Then, I made a doctor's appointment. It was a precaution, but something in the back of my mind told me I needed to check. Lisa had been different for months. Distant. Cold. Avoiding intimacy. What if the reason wasn't just guilt? What if it was something else? That evening, I sat outside the Grand Royale, waiting. At 7:45 p.m., I saw Lisa pull up. She was dressed up, heels, short dress, hair curled. Not for me. Never for me. She walked into the lobby, pulling out her phone. I watched as she texted someone. Probably him. A few minutes later, Ethan arrived. He put a hand on her lower back as they approached the elevator, laughing at something she said. She looked up at him the way she used to look at me. I stepped out of my car, walked inside, and made my way to the front desk. The receptionist barely looked at me as I handed her a folder. "This is for Ethan Daniels and Lisa Carter," I said, my voice calm. "Make sure it gets delivered to their suite." She nodded, barely glancing at the contents inside. Screenshots. Emails. Photos. A full breakdown of their affair. And at the very bottom, a note for Lisa. "Since you like surprises, here's one for you. Enjoy your stay." I walked out before she could process what I had just done. I wasn't done yet. At 10:23 p.m., my phone rang. Lisa. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again. And again. By the fourth call, I picked up. "Lisa," I said, my tone cold. "Oh my God, please, whatever you think, it's not. I know everything." Silence. I let her sit with it for a moment before continuing. "I know about the hotel. I know about the late-night calls. I know about everything." More silence. I could hear her breathing, panicked and shallow. "Did you get my gift?" I asked. She started crying. "Please, I can explain. It wasn't serious. It didn't mean anything, I swear." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Oh, so now it didn't mean anything?" "Because I read your emails, Lisa. Love you." Sounded serious to me. We're sobbing. I felt nothing. Then she tried a different tactic. "Babe, please, let's just talk in person, okay? Just you and me." Not happening. "But I'm done." I cut her off. "I packed a bag for you. Your stuff is in the garage. You're not stepping foot inside our house again." "Wait, please." "Don't worry," I continued, my voice calm, detached. "Your boss's wife will probably let you stay with them." "Oh wait. She knows too." She gasped. You told her?" "Of course I did," I said. "Did you really think you'd get away with this?" I didn't wait for her answer. I hung up. 2 days later, I got a call from the doctor's office. I was clear. No STDs. Lisa, however, not so lucky. I didn't even have to tell her I knew. Her hospital visit made it clear. She had been trying to get in touch with me nonstop, but I ignored every call. Then, her sister called me. "She's in the hospital," she said. She tested positive for something, and she's freaking out. "She needs you." I laughed. She needed me? That's funny. She sure as hell didn't need me when she was screwing her boss. "She's miserable," her sister pleaded. "At least just talk to her." I sighed, feigning sympathy. "Oh, she's miserable? Tell her it's a small price to pay for destroying our marriage." Click. I wasn't going to be her emotional safety net anymore. Lisa had made her choices, and I had made mine. Lisa had always been good at talking her way out of trouble. That was one of the things I used to admire about her, how she could smooth over any situation with just the right words, just the right smile. But this time, there was no talking her way out of this. She was spiraling, and I wasn't going to catch her. She had spent the last few days calling, texting, leaving long, rambling voicemails, first apologizing, then justifying, then outright blaming me. It was pathetic. I ignored them all. Meanwhile, the world around her was burning. Ethan's wife? She didn't waste time. The night of the hotel disaster, she had gone nuclear. She kicked him out immediately, but she didn't stop there. She went straight to his company's HR department with all the evidence I had given her. A married executive screwing his subordinate? That wasn't just immoral. It was a legal liability. He got fired the next morning. Lisa probably thought she was in the clear, that she could slip under the radar while Ethan took the fall. She was dead wrong. Her coworkers weren't blind. The whispers started the second she walked into the office. Nobody looked her in the eye. Some just shook their heads, muttering under their breath. Others weren't so subtle. Guess she finally slept her way out of a promotion. One of the junior associates joked in the break room. It wasn't long before management called her in. A reputation like hers? Toxic. She wasn't some irreplaceable star employee. She was an embarrassment. They called it downsizing. She was fired by lunchtime. Lisa walked out of that office with her things in a cardboard box, humiliated beyond belief. She had lost her marriage. She had lost her affair partner. And now, she had lost her career. When she called me again that night, I picked up, just to hear how broken she sounded. Please, she begged, her voice raw. Just talk to me. Please. I stayed silent, letting her desperation sink in. I know I messed up, she continued. But I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I lost everything, babe. I don't even know where to go. I smirked, though she couldn't see it. Not my problem. She choked on a sob. Don't say that. I leaned back in my chair, completely unmoved. You didn't care where I would go when you were sneaking off to hotels, Lisa. You didn't care about what you were destroying when you called me boring and mocked me with Ethan. I wasn't thinking, she stammered. I was stupid. I was selfish. But I never stopped loving you. I actually laughed at that. Really? You loved me while you were sneaking around? You loved me while you let another man touch you? While you lied to my face every single day? I don't know why I did it, she whispered. You don't know? I repeated mockingly. Then let me remind you. You did it because you're a selfish, cheating coward who thought she'd never get caught. She didn't have a response to that. For the first time, she had no excuse. I let the silence stretch between us before finally saying, You destroyed your own life, Lisa. You got yourself fired. You got your affair partner fired. And you threw away our marriage like it was nothing. You did this to yourself. A broken sob came through the phone. You won't even give me a chance to make it right. Make it right. I scoffed. Lisa, you can't even begin to fix this. And the worst part? You wouldn't even be sorry if you hadn't gotten caught. She cried harder. For the first time, I realized she wasn't crying because she missed me. She was crying because she had nowhere to go. Her sister had kicked her out. Her parents wouldn't take her in. Her friends? They had cut her off. Lisa Carter was utterly alone. I had never seen karma work so fast. Goodbye, Lisa, I said. Then I blocked her number. I leaned back in my chair, letting out a long breath. I had never felt so free. I woke up the next morning feeling lighter than I had in months. No more lies. No more gaslighting. No more pretending things were okay when they weren't. Lisa was out of my life, and for the first time, I didn't feel a shred of guilt about it. She, on the other hand, was in hell. I hadn't heard from her directly. She was still blocked, but word traveled fast. Her sister, who had briefly let her crash on her couch, had finally had enough of her sobbing and whining. She's a wreck. Her sister had texted me the night before. She lost everything. She's still in denial about it. Keeps saying you destroyed her. I had laughed when I read that. I destroyed her? She was the one who threw everything away for a cheap thrill. All I did was let the truth come out. She had played a stupid game. Now, she was collecting her prize. Her parents refused to help her. Her father, the proud military man, wouldn't even speak to her. She had betrayed her vows, disgraced herself, and lost her job all in one blow. To him, she was nothing but an embarrassment. Her mother tried to push him to soften up, but even she wasn't exactly sympathetic. I just don't know what she was thinking, her mom had told a mutual friend. She had a good man, a stable life, and she threw it away for some office fling? She deserves everything she's getting. I smiled when I heard that. Even her own mother thought she was an idiot. She was burning every bridge she had left. But that wasn't the best part. The best part? She was sick. Not just emotionally. Physically. I didn't know if Ethan was the one who gave it to her, or if she had been with someone else on the side. But the hospital trip confirmed it. Lisa had contracted an STD. It wasn't deadly, but it wasn't the kind that just goes away, either. And I was completely clean. I heard about her hospitalization from her sister, who called me out of the blue. I didn't even recognize the number at first, but I picked up just in case. It's Lisa, she said, her voice flat. She's in the hospital. I took a sip of my coffee. And her sister hesitated, like she was waiting for me to ask more. I didn't. Finally, she sighed. She tested positive for something. A permanent something. I let that sit for a moment, then shrugged. Again, not my problem. She's miserable. Her sister tried again. She won't stop crying. She's scared. She's alone. I thought. You thought what? I interrupted. That I'd rush to her bedside and tell her everything's okay? That I'd forgive her? Silence. I chuckled. Let me be crystal clear. I don't care what happens to Lisa. I don't care if she spends the next 10 years crying herself to sleep. I don't care if she never finds another job, or if no one ever looks at her the same way again. You really hate her that much? I let out a breath, thinking. No, I don't hate her. I feel nothing for her. And that's worse. Her sister didn't have a response to that. Goodbye, I said, then hung up. I didn't need to hear any more sob stories. Lisa had made her choices. Now she was living with them. And me? I was moving on. The divorce papers were filed. She had no way to contest it. The evidence of her affair made sure of that. I kept the house. I kept my peace of mind. And best of all, I was free. She, on the other hand, would spend the rest of her life knowing she lost everything. Not because of me, but because of herself. I smiled, grabbed my keys, and walked out the door. I had a whole new life ahead of me. And this time, I wasn't wasting it on someone who didn't deserve me.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.